now a lot easier too. Turned up all the volumes. Okay, bet. So yeah, there was a slight issue. Okay, so perfect because that's actually perfect because then we actually haven't gotten into the meat of the stuff yet. That would have been really, really bad. Could you imagine like just sitting here for the whole
the entire time talking
right,
the whole
just
thing.
talk to the whole thing. Not a single person heard a single thing. I would have been so sad. I would have been very.
Wait,
very
you're doing video right now, right?
Oh yes, we are.
If you're doing video, can you just imagine just like it's muted but no closed captioning?
Right, like it's like are we all deaf all of a sudden? Like So once again, guys, thank you guys for thank you Juan and thank you Rich for coming on to the show today. And then I have Ray here live in the studio with me as well.
What's going on?
No problem, no problem.
Yes.
No problem.
So let's get to the nitty gritty here. We're about to get real into it. So as we all know, Endgame's already ended.
Game ended.
Yep, that ended back. Technically, the hype behind that ended back in May. Unfortunately, it could not pass out Avatar as the #1 movie. We are very, very sad to see that happen. We were just so close.
Yeah.
But like, I think it was like 13 million off or something like that last time I checked. It's
Oh, that's not that bad. I didn't even know it was that close.
yeah, it was like a neck and
13, 14 million off.
yeah, it was that close of a race. And I mean, congratulations to Marvel because that's a big feat for something as big as Avatar back in 2009 when it was first dropped. That was like the movie to beat for years to come. So we're all kind of sitting here like, yes, we finally did that. But unfortunately, as comic book fans, we're very, very sad to see that we could not actually make it. You know what I mean? But now we have to say it's right now rivaling the best Spider-Man movie, I want to say, that we've seen so far. Spider-Man Far From Home. And what's... Oh, thank you, Tacky Slacks. Thank you for the follow. So real quick, Spider-Man Far From Home. We've, I think we've all come to, how do I put it, into a consensus with it that it's probably one of the upper echelon of Spider-Man movies. I literally, like, before even going to see it, I saw it late. Like, I saw it like a full week late. And it was... From what people are telling me, like when I was waiting to go see the movie, they were all like, "Oh my god, this is like the movie you have to see. Like this is the thing you have to see." Yeah. And the reason why most of my friends were really, really hype about it, it's 2 weeks later since the movie came out. We don't have to put a spoiler warning on it anymore. It's been 2 full weeks. If you haven't seen it,
it's been 2 full weeks.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, generally the rule of thumb is you give people 2 weeks to watch it, and then after that, you know.
Right, exactly.
If they haven't seen it at that point, well, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very sorry
I gotta agree with that
yet because it's like if you haven't seen it, then oh well.
I mean,
and if you saw Spider-Man Far From Home without watching Endgame, that's a whole nother thing.
Oh yeah, because then actually, I'm kind of okay. If you really don't want to have it spoiled for you, then obviously turn the stream off right now, and then you can come back to this like on the YouTube channel when it's uploaded as a VOD. But I kid you not. Oh my god, we just jumped up in viewers. I kid you not, guys. The reason why it's I love these sound bites. The reason why this is so important to us is because Far From Home, we all know that technically the MCU is now come to its close. Far From Home was the MCU, like it was basically like saying, hey guys, we're trying to pass on this mantle to Spider-Man. And I think recently, because of the fact like, we had the amazing Marvel Spider-Man on PS4, we had Into the Spider-Verse, and now we have Far From Home. The reputation of Spider-Man overall has definitely risen from like the Andrew Garfield days where people were like trashing on the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So,
but they were good movies. I like them.
They were good movies. they were really good movies. I don't know why people are trashing on them.
I don't see. Actually, you know what? The thing is, I actually kind of agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of the characters were kind of like outlandish in a way. Like, so how do I put it? Like, the characters that like you've seen, or the characters that were like speaking, or like any of the characters that basically the way they acted was so out of the ordinary for a lot of people. Like Andrew Garfield's kind of being like, excuse my language, but a douche. That wasn't really what everyone was expecting out of Spider-Man. We've always seen like this awkward, teenager who's like, who doesn't really know like, how to speak to girls, how to, basically go about being a normal teenager. And then Andrew Garfield comes out of nowhere.
Cocky.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what a lot of people didn't like about it. Like that was like, oh my god, I thought Spider-Man was like, geeky nerd like me.
I think the problem with Andrew Garfield is he was too normal for Peter Parker, but as him playing Spider-Man himself, I thought he was really good.
Right. Okay, so I can, that's the thing is that I can agree. He was definitely. It's like the same thing when we talk about like when people speak about like Ben Affleck being Batman. They thought he was a really good Bruce Wayne, but his Batman was just absolute trash. So
Garbage.
straight garbage. So with that said, our thoughts on Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm going to start with Rich, then we'll move to Juan, and then we'll go into studio with me and Ray. So Rich,
Just
go
when
ahead.
you call me about my government name.
Do you have a name you want to be called by? Because I mean,
Dude, you always call me Tito. That's the way you keep it.
oh, that's true. You're right, Tito. We got Tito up in here, man.
He's been Tito forever. Okay.
It's always been Tito. Rich knows that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But so my thoughts. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed the movie a lot. I enjoyed a lot of the interactions that Peter and MJ had. MJ as a whole was awesome. Like the way she played her character, she was quirky but still herself as like there's just I didn't like what's his name, Mysterio, kind of, but I can get into that later.
Okay.
But like the way that they portrayed him was a little weird, but overall I really enjoyed the movie. It was just like I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Like he's my dude, and Tom is like my favorite Spider-Man, like to date.
Okay. I actually do agree with that. I do agree with that. Tito, what you got to say?
I have to agree with Rich on that. For me, Tom Holland has been the best Spider-Man yet. Like just the way he plays, not just only Spider-Man, but the way he also plays Peter as well. And now for Far From Home, I actually enjoyed it a lot. That I went to go see it a second time with my wife. And there were some things I kind of didn't like, and we can get into that later. I kind of didn't like. I felt like some things were rushed in the movie. Primarily like the relationship between MJ and Peter. I feel like I know there's some scenarios going on there, but that's a whole different conversation. But overall, I like the movie a lot. For me, it was so far the best Spider-Man movie I've seen till this day. Like it, and that's looking at all the ones, like the Tobey Maguires, the Andrew Garfield, and even just these last couple films and everything. Best one yet. And yeah, there were some couple things about Mysterio that I kind of didn't like, that the way they portrayed him as well. But like I said, we'll get into that a bit later.
Okay. So now we're into the studio here. I actually do like these thoughts. We can definitely get into those a little bit later. So now I got Ray. I would like to definitely hear your thoughts upon this as well.
Right, yeah. So I'll start off by saying I share what the other guys are saying about this being one of, if not my favorite thus far, and this to me cemented Tom Holland in this dude is Spider-Man. Like I love Tobey Maguire. I personally enjoyed Andrew Garfield, but this kid right here, this is the guy. I personally enjoyed. I did enjoy Peter and MJ's interaction. The beginning of it it felt like an off-screen thing. It was just like, okay, I guess they kind of grew close off-screen, but you only have so much time in the movie, so I can understand how they kind of had to shave the edges off of stuff. I do have to say, seeing the first person's perspective of the snap, that was terrifying. Like I understand it was kind of portrayed as in like, oh, they're gone. Oh, now they're back. It was kind of supposed to be a joke, but seeing them, half of them go away in the during the band performance, that was like, oh my God. I'm someone who puts myself in people's shoes, so that to me that was done really well. Mysterio. I don't know. I do like what they did with it a little bit, because like, for me, I'm just like, Mysterio's a bad guy. They're not gonna make him a good guy. That's not gonna be a thing that happens. And what they ended up doing was an interesting way to, go about Mysterio. And also, I believe they did a fantastic job at showing, Mysterio doesn't have any like, great martial arts skills, but he will mess with your head big time, and they definitely put that through. That was portrayed fantastically. I was like, if a child saw this movie, I guarantee you they're like having nightmares. Like the
Oh my
the
god.
sequence with Iron Man crawling out of that grave. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, no,
That
that
is
was
nightmare
Hold
fuel
on,
for
Ray.
somebody
Where
who's
you?
scared
We
of
were just
heights.
talking about that the other day.
that was all nightmare fuel. Like coming from somebody who's like actually like who after like watching that, I was just like, oh my god, this is really what they want you to see. Like they don't want you to be like, oh my god, Spider-Man just did this, and it's like, wait a second, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do, Spider-Man? There's nothing you can do about it. You can't save him. He's gone now. You can't do nothing. Like it really was diving like deep into Peter's psyche. We really had to like sit there and basically absorb what he was going through. Like like one thing that like Marvel has been really good with, and I feel like this movie touches on it, is like trying to relate to its audience as any way, shape, or form possible that they can actually do it in. And whenever you are with that audience, you obviously have to give them something that they can relate to. Like, what's Peter going through now that he has to deal with the fact that Iron Man is dead? Okay, what are we exactly dealing with? Well, he's technically dealing with the same PTSD that Tony went through during his time like after the Battle of New York. And the reason why is because of the fact that he felt like he couldn't save everyone. He wasn't like, he was trying to do these things that he wanted to do to try to save the entire world once he was gone. And now we have Spider-Man as that, and he wanted to leave that to Spider-Man. He believed that Spider-Man could carry on his legacy. This is like that whole like you are my living legacy thing. And that's really what this whole point was, is that how like really like Peter doesn't have a father figure, but now Tony Stark was like that father figure to him. It's like they're trying to show like what is the boy now becoming the man. It was that coming of age story for him. Like we all thought Homecoming was, and then now looking at it, like no, the Homecoming was just the development of Spider-Man. Like we had to develop the character truly more fleshed out than what Civil War was able to give us. And now what we have going is this whole thing of, oh, now we have Spider-Man, and now we want to make him solidified as his own MCU character. What can we do? And so they ultimately introduced this as that way. If that makes sense, like they introduced this movie as the way of giving it like, Spider-Man giving his own like time to shine. It's his own spotlight. No matter how many times we saw Iron Man throughout the movie, no matter how many times people mentioned Tony Stark to him, it was like, I'm not Tony Stark. I'm still Spider-Man.
One thing I thought was really cool about this movie specifically was the fact that in this story, Tony Stark is actually the Uncle Ben of the story.
Yes. Actually, I like the way he put that. Yes, he's right.
Because
you know what? I gotta agree with that. Yeah, I do have to agree with that.
And seeing how he gets over Ben and is how he overcomes his powers. So that's what this whole movie is about. And I thought that was a really nice touch, especially since there have been a lot of Spider-Man reboots. We've seen that story a couple times, so I thought that was a nice spin on that.
Yeah. I definitely thought that Peter needed this whole thing. Peter needed this. And what you just said about his PTSD being similar to Tony's, I didn't even consider that. So that just solidifies it that much more, how much he needed this. The PTSD, I just want to be a regular kid for a minute because heroes don't get vacations. His spider sense being on the fritz, and that being the way that he ends up beating Mysterio, and him, learning how to handle the responsibility of not only people looking to him to be, the next, Iron Man or whatever, but he's actually in the form of Edith. He's given all this power, and it's just like, what are you gonna do with it? And after he almost calls a drone strike on his friends on the bus, which was very stressful, by the way. That stressed me out.
Yeah.
It's just like this isn't a test run. There's no more test runs. You're the person who gave you this tech isn't here to tell you what to do with it, and there is no taking the suit away anymore. There's no resetting of back to basics. You can't do that anymore.
There's no such thing as like cleaning up your mess. Like you don't have someone there to
He's
clean
not
up your mess anymore.
Nope.
He's not there to hold your hand anymore. Like it's like, come on, either man up or sit down.
Right, and that's the reason why like they had the whole part of the movie where he started reading the note, and when he ended up giving Edith up, we were just like, wait, why are you just giving this up so easily? There should be no reason why you just give this up to somebody that you literally just met, and it's
that kind of annoyed me. I'm not gonna lie, that kind of annoyed me.
I love the acronym. I guess that's what it's an acronym. Edith.
Yeah.
What it stands for. That's amazing. By the way.
Even though I'm the hero.
Oh my god.
He does love his acronyms.
Yeah.
No, that was hilarious. But I'm just wondering. I need to get everyone else's take on this. Also, it's like, how do you guys feel about the comedy that was in the movie? Like, do you feel like it was too much? 'Cause I feel like people were complaining about that more, that it wasn't enough action, or do you feel like it was well balanced?
Well, I felt like the first one had the Homecoming had more comedy parts than this one did. I thought it was fine. I like I said, it didn't bother me at all. I generally enjoyed most of the movie. There were a few things that kind of, like I said, I didn't really like Mysterio. One, the way he did the things with the drones was cool, but he himself didn't have powers, which was kind of weird. Spin on his character, and then Spider-Man also.
I just realized they took a page out of Iron Man 2.
Then I also
Iron Man 3.
sorry.
I'm sorry. You just made me come to this crazy realization when you said that Mysterio doesn't actually have powers. So remember the whole like fake villain thing in Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin?
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
I just thought about that. It was almost the same exact feeling. Like, it's like you got this person who's playing off someone that they're really not. And then when you finally get behind, like, you really find the man behind the magic, it's really just all these illusions.
Yeah, exactly. Which I guess is fine, because it's Mysterio himself is an illusionist, so that's understandable. But like one, again, it was just he lacks punch because he's just a regular dude. And then two, Spider-Man never got to call him Fishbowl Head, and that kind of that's kind of their thing. So I did miss that too. But that's like I've been watching Spider-Man for a long time, so that's not like super important.
Right, so it's just like a little tidbit, like, oh, this is something, like, some little nuances that they made. Like, I mean, yeah, I did notice that there was a couple things from the comics that, like, obviously they could have put in, like, again, the fishbowl head thing, where that's, like, the interaction between Mysterio and everything. And I can say definitely, like, even though they missed on a lot of things, you are right, like, the balance between the comedy and the action was much there. I mean, there's only so much I think you could have done with the elementals, because I'm not sure if they're exactly, like, I mean, they're just seen as, like, this force that's able to just destroy worlds easily. And that's really what we have to basically, like, we have to just go based on. And I'm like, but what else can you possibly, like, if the elementals were really the real villain in the story, would they really, like, what would exactly be their motivation for just bouncing from universe to universe, destroying each different Earth of each every universe? Like, that makes no sense. Like, they're like, because at the point, once you reach the end of like, there's really no reaching the end of it. You're just going through infinite Earths, and then it's like this one Earth is just waiting for its time. So that's when I was kind of like, when I was thinking about that for a second, like, when I went into the theater, I was like, should I be expecting, like, the elementals? Like, should I be, like, expecting this big bad guy? But then I think about it, I'm like, but it makes no sense. So, like, the villain of this actual story was kind of, like, ruined for me when I walked into the theater, because I kind of realized that it wasn't exactly the elementals, if that makes sense. It was, like, they were trying to throw us for a loop a little bit, but once you're actually sitting through the film, you know what I mean? It was kind of, like, weird.
I don't know. I feel like it's hard. I feel like it's hard to think, like, those who don't know Spider-Man or just Marvel in general, that you would think that, oh, hey, Mysterio's a good guy. It's like, no, he's gonna end up being a bad guy. There's no way he's gonna go through this movie being a good guy. Like, you know who Mysterio is.
Right.
Like, you have that thought in your head, it's like, he's a good guy? Nah, he's gonna be a bad guy by the end of the film.
Right, there's no way that he could have actually been a good guy. Like, I was just like, there's no way, like, that you guys are actually, like, telling me that Mysterio is a good guy. Where did this come from? And, oh, man, I'm still laugh at it every time, because then it's like, you sit through this really, really exciting movie. Like, it had me on the edge of my seat. It did bring me back with some nostalgia of, like, you know, high school days when, you know, being that awkward teenager, trying to talk to the girl you liked. You know, we kind of got a little nostalgia trip. And then obviously people who are teenagers now who are going through that are probably, like, witnessing it. They felt like they could actually be connected to the movie more. So I think, like, from the comedy and the action standpoint and overall the movie itself, it was just very easy to connect to.
I I have two things on Mysterio specifically.
Yes.
So, feeding off of the "there's no way Mysterio is going to be a good guy" thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else not find it coincidental that when Beck put on Tony's glasses, that he looked not exactly, but like enough like Tony to make Peter like stop for a second? I don't think that was by accident.
No, I kind of noticed that too. Even from the previews, like he had the beard and all, and like you had to actually think about something. Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr. have all actually, and even Mark Ruffalo, they've all worked on movies like in the same exact movies together. Like these guys have already like worked together, and even back then, like you could see how they would, how they actually come to be like, I wouldn't say exactly a duo of a dynamic duo of sorts, but when you see the two together, you kind of like already like you can kind of like differentiate the two. But then when you get to like them being bearded next to each other, you can be like, oh my god, these guys are almost like look like family.
Right, and
yeah, the resemblance was pretty similar.
Which obviously they
that's
probably
right.
did that on purpose, but
yeah. So, and
I never thought about
in
that.
Sense, I think that is a nice detail of, from the character standpoint, Mysterio standpoint of, once he met Peter, I think that it's not. I don't think it's out of the question for him to try and manipulate Peter in that way. So I think that was a great detail, and I touched on it earlier, but the second thing is I really love how they portrayed him, even without powers, as a serious threat, and like in the comics. For any of you guys who know Old Man Logan, Wolverine thinks he's fighting his rogues gallery of villains: Sabretooth, Lady Deathstrike, everybody. He is actually fighting the X-Men, and he kills pretty much all of them. Mysterio is the reason that Old Man Logan exists. Mysterio did that. So to see what Mysterio did here, I'm just like, okay, they didn't make him this OP bad guy, but they didn't make him a pushover either, and I enjoyed that a lot.
I don't think I could imagine how, Spider-Man would actually be able to deal with the actual, like, how would he actually deal with the actual Mysterio?
Without his spider sense.
Exactly. Like, in this movie, I feel like, literally, Mysterio could have killed Peter at any point in time. He could have literally just ended him at any moment in time. Like, he had him on the ropes that entire movie.
Yeah, multiple times. He developed his spider tangle, or Peter tangle, is what they call it in this movie. Which was hilarious, by the way, that they called it that.
Peter Tingle.
Really late I think it was actually during the last fight is where he actually like got full control, where they were on that bridge or whatever it was. And I thought that was really cool. Mysterio, like his illusions. I mean, I know the CG graphics definitely helped, but just seeing all the things that he could do was pretty cool. And I thought, even though he didn't have powers, I thought the use of drones, because he didn't have powers, was also really cool. Like especially when after the the tornado.
Oh my god!
Elemental, and then he was just fighting all the drones in the air. That was really cool, I thought.
That was awesome.
The action scenes in this movie, particularly, and especially like I actually have to give props to the CGI in this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
Like that was, I honestly was never expecting that. Whoa, what's the heavy breathing going on in the background?
I think Rich is full.
There we go. No, I did notice that like the CGI for this movie, because we all know the Marvel movies have a pretty bad reputation when it comes to like their effects and stuff like that. We're looking at you, Black Panther. Oh my God, we don't speak about that for any reason. But
ding.
We have a general consensus of like, and then if you're also one of the unlucky few who saw that scene for that Endgame scene that was like basically unfinished. Like, again, that's another scene we don't
I saw that.
Yeah, that's just something like we know that they have this retrospect where they are really bad for just CGI in general, for the overall quality of CGI. But I feel like this movie like broke that standard. Like I honestly didn't go into this movie expecting great effects, which was really, really weird to me, because I'm like, this is Spider-Man. Like if you can't make it look like he's realistically swinging around the place, I shouldn't even care about this movie. But like once the elementals started coming, you started seeing all like this destruction and people actually getting hurt and all that. You were like, wow.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
actually gave you that feeling of okay, we should probably do something about this. And piggybacking off of what you said about the action scenes and the effects and all that, a lot of people who have seen this movie remember the jump from Spider-Man, the PS1, PS2 game, the first one, and then Spider-Man 2, and just being like, oh, this is the best Spider-Man game ever, and it was for a while, and then we got Spider-Man PS4. So we have gotten used to swinging and action and all that stuff that looks good. So it's super awesome to see, Tom Holland do, well, not literally Tom Holland, but Spider-Man do all this, all these, complicated but seamless, fighting moves and the choreography and just the use of the part where he uses the sonic wave drone to first of all fire that, I guess that core grenade whatever into the group of drones and then use it was like a quick time event, my dude.
Right,
it was fantastic, and I loved it.
You almost felt like you were actually playing a video game during that. So I think we all have seen this. It actually goes back to the old Sam Raimi movies with Tobey Maguire. We kind of got a little callback to when Green Goblin first got killed by his own glider. Mm-hmm. You kind of felt that same heat of that moment. Where you're like, oh my god, if Peter does not see even one of these drones, he's done. Yeah. This is all that we're gonna get out of Peter for the rest of our lives. Could you imagine if they made it so that Tom Holland died at the end of this movie?
Oh my god.
What if he was to die too with Mysterio?
Uproar.
This would have been.
No.
I get it.
There would have been chaos and panic all over the world.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have done actually.
I think I would have cried more.
No,
it
would have been really bad. Oh no! Don't even get me started.
I would have cried more for Spider-Man than I cried for Tony.
Mm-hmm.
I was.
And then another thing.
Yeah, go ahead. What's up?
Okay, sorry. Another thing about the fight, actually, getting back to the whole Peter Tingle thing, is that whole fight. Sorry, it's just hilarious. That whole fight. He actually
you can dodge bullets, but not bananas.
Well, yeah, that whole fight with the drones, where he's that whole fight was super intense. He didn't have it at that point in time. And in previous Spider-Mans, that wasn't the case. So I thought that was exhibition of how good this Spider-Man is, which I thought was really cool.
Right. He was just acting on his pure instinct, his own ability. That's all he was acting on. This man did not have the actual spider sense to be able to be oh, it's gonna go this way, it's gonna go that way. No, this dude literally says to himself, I just have to do this, and if I don't do this, who else will? Mm-hmm. So he just acts on what he knows how to act on best, and that's literally his own instinct.
Yeah, the crazy thing about the spider sense is, from what we've seen, in the movies, the Sam Raimi movies gave the best idea of what the spider sense is. Spider sense is basically omnipotence of everything going around in a certain radius. So for his spider sense to go from on the fritz to that, it's believable. It's it's awesome, and it's not it's not arbitrary. It's just his spider sense wasn't working at the beginning of the movie. His aunt threw food at his head and he didn't see it coming, and now he can just sense everything. No, it's it's growing in spurts. So that was also, I think, really good.
Well, yeah, because this movie was basically his whole him becoming a man type story, and I think that's because remember in Spider-Man 2. Technically, I think Peter was still a teenager in Spider-Man 2. I'm not sure, or he was just at the.
No. I think he had just graduated high school or going to college or something.
Oh yes, you're right. You're right. But during Spider-Man 2, he did lose his powers entirely, and people.
I was just about to bring that point up too.
Yeah, and exactly, and people still to this day are what exactly happened that caused him to lose his power? And Tito, maybe a little bit more detail into that. But it's weird because
I'm trying to think back as to what events led up to that, because I remember, Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, that was the movie with Doc Ock, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Doc Ock movie, but I think that's more related to the show, because if you remember when he went to Doc Ock originally in the show, it was because he was evolving, and like that's when Doppelganger came about,
Yeah.
and that's when he was losing his powers in like
Yeah.
the show. So I'm
I
assuming.
do recall that. Yeah.
So I don't know if it was a play on that, but like it wasn't really explained in that movie why he was losing his powers.
Right, and I always like kind of wondered that, but like now, like it's funny because like the way this movie sets up like why he doesn't have his spider sense, you kind of just get like that feel of, oh, he doesn't have his spider sense because he's, you know, he's kind of like coming into this thing. He doesn't really like, he's like trying to basically turn Spider-Man off for a little bit. And he's like, I just want to be a normal teenager. I just want to grow up. I want to go to school. I want to do this. I'm going on a school trip. Let me be. Like, that's all he wants. But like he doesn't realize that like because of this, like he has to come into that great power comes great responsibility aspect of the movie now, where you have to basically understand that you are Spider-Man. Like you have to understand this is what you. It's not that you necessarily signed up for it, but you kind of like put yourself in this position where now at this point your city needs you, and now you're at a greater scale. The world needs you, and I think because of all that pressure he was feeling as only a teenager, it seems like that might have been like what maybe was blocking him off.
I think there was a couple things at play in terms of because when I looked at it the second time, when I watched it the second time, I was having a conversation with my wife and everything because she was kind of bringing up the same point. I'm like, what's going on with the spider sense thing? And we both kind of came to the conclusion that it has like there's a number of things at play, such as PTSD and everything. All that comes into play. Because remember, you know, this dude disappeared, the blip, and you know he's dealing with the death of Tony and everything, and you know just trying to get over a lot of depression. There's so many feelings at play that that could be interfering with his spider sense, because I think that was also what was going on. Because I'm going back now to Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. If I remember correctly, I think his life, because of his job as Spider-Man, he was feeling depressed because he couldn't, you know, be around MJ and everything. Like it was always interfering with his life in some sort of way. So it's like he quit being Spider-Man primarily because of that. He didn't want to be Spider-Man anymore. And so just looking at Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I'm thinking that he was dealing with like a lot of depression, anxiety, a lot of stuff going on especially for a young teenager. Right. So it's like I feel like that's what was going on with him. But I do have one question for anyone. Did anyone else cringe when Peter got hit by the damn train?
Yeah, I really thought he was gone. I thought that man was gone after that.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, no.
Not expecting that one bit.
When I saw him get hit by the train, I'm just like, oh, he's down for a minute. Like I don't. And like when he fell asleep on the train, I'm just like, wait, you fell asleep on the train, my dude? Where are you going?
I was actually concerned at the fact that he actually survived, because he even says in the beginning that like even though he is, you know, technically superhuman, he's not really superhuman. Like he can still be hurt to like a grave extent. Even though in Spider-Man's powers he does have advanced healing, he does have advanced strength, things like that, he's still like all those abilities still don't like that. It doesn't make him like, you know, hard as steel. He's not like, you know, he's not the Hulk who has like the gamma radiation from his transformation to make sure it protects him against bullets. He's not, you know, with a bulletproof cat suit. He's not. He doesn't have these things. Like, I mean, I would really like it if he had a bulletproof suit. I think he needs to look into that. But it's just like he knows that like he still has some limitations as a human, and I think that's what makes it so different for him, because like all these other superheroes around him, they don't have these limitations. Iron Man technically didn't really have much limitations. I mean, yeah, his nanobots could be destroyed, and he would have to reallocate the spaces in order to make certain things happen. But that still doesn't put him as like, you know, it still made him almost like superhuman or invulnerable. The Hulk's invulnerable. You really can't stop Black Panther once he's in that suit. Even Captain America, for some reason, you can't stop that man. Like it just seems like they're almost impossible to stop. Like these true superhuman people, and Peter's just like, I don't feel like this. I know I'm superhuman.
You would have considered the Iron Spider suit bulletproof?
Did it actually deflect any bullets?
I'm not sure, but would you assume that it is bulletproof?
The Iron Spider suit is bulletproof.
Is it bulletproof?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I mean, it just didn't seem like they didn't really like showcase all the abilities, like the exact ability. I mean, yeah, I've seen the Iron Spider suit before, obviously Infinity War even happened, but like they didn't exactly showcase the Iron Spider suit in all its glory, because even with the Iron Spider suit, we didn't see it like actually deflect any bullets or anything like that. So it's like that's why I'm touching on the point of the fact that like he's still in this humanity aspect. Like he still has that humanity behind him. He hasn't really lost all all like aspect of who he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He fully
Yeah, I think that.
understands.
I'm waiting for him.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people resonate with Spider-Man. That's why he's a lot of people's favorite character. Because yes, he's super strong and he does all these powers, but in the end of the day, he's still technically like a regular dude. He doesn't. He's not Superman where he can just do whatever he wants. You know, he still has to like. You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
he can still be hurt. He can still, you know, he's still in danger. He's still putting his life on the line anytime he goes out to do something. He's not impervious to everything like, you know, your typical superheroes are.
And the thing about it, he's been doing that without the spider sense for so long. I mean, I think his spider sense turned off during the time when he was in the blip, even though we're gonna call it, the official name is the decimation, I think it was. During that time, like, so they even said it that Spider-Man, the reason why he was the one who experienced the blip the longest out of anybody, any other character. He took the longest to actually blip out due to the fact that his spider sense was able to sense what was going on. Like, he can feel himself withering away. And the fact that his body was trying to fight literally his body was trying to fight the Infinity Stones snapping, saying, hey, it's your time to go, buddy. Like, you gotta go. And he was trying to fight that.
Eternal healing is fought that. Not to mention, he also knew it was coming, so you can only imagine how that feels.
Right.
The anxiety.
And can you imagine, like, that's what he attributed his spider sense to? So, again, the PTSD thing might be the whole... again, that's, like, one of the theories is that the PTSD from being blipped and experiencing what the true, like, aspect of being decimated was or being dusted was, you are literally feeling that. And so that's why we know, like, he's been doing this without his spider sense. Like, he went back to being Spider-Man without his spider sense that entire time. So it's just, like, even though, he's still these superhuman aspects, he's still very human.
Mm-hmm.
So like with that said, guys, let's get to final verdicts. Overall, as a movie, like, you know, we took into account like the villain, even though the villain was a little shaky at times, he was still very charismatic. People still kind of liked him, and they could see like his motivations. They understood who he was, and then from a storyline, action, CGI, all the different aspects of what makes a movie good, obviously, especially in the MCU. I would like to know a number rating and then a quick blurb on why you gave it that number rating. Obviously from 1 to 10, and then obviously, even though we kind of spoiled it, if anyone hasn't seen it yet, we obviously still probably recommend going to see it.
Absolutely.
So starting with Rich, and then or Lumineer, twitch.tv/Lumineer, you guys better go ahead and follow that too.
Thank you, appreciate that.
We got Tito, then we got Ray right here.
I'll get up a Twitch going at some point.
I can't wait, dude. You be uploading some really funny clips on Facebook.
Oh, anyone's seen my videos find those things hilarious.
Love them, man. That's why you got to start. You have to start Twitch streaming, man. I fully recommend you for it. But so
Help
real
me.
quick, let's go ahead. Final verdicts on Spider-Man: Far From Home. Are we 1 through 10, and why do we give it that rating? So Lumineer, let's go.
Okay, so well, let's start with the number first. I'm gonna go with a 9. I wasn't 100% happy with it. Fantastic movie. Again, I don't like the way that they went with Mysterio. Like the fact, again, just because he's supposed to be like this one thing, and the way they did it wasn't that. I thought it was really cool that the way they worked around that, but because, I guess this is me being an elitist, I guess, because I expected it to be one way and it wasn't that way, so I can't get by that. So that's the only reason for the mark. So I guess, you know, take that as you will. But overall, the movie is fantastic. I recommend it to anybody, but I just can't give it the perfect 10. That's all.
I can completely understand it. That's very, very fair. Tito?
I'm gonna go with a 9.5. You know, there was a couple things about Mysterio that I actually liked. If I remember correctly, looking at different theories and everything, and different reviews on it, they were saying that they pretty much almost followed the comic to a T. They just switched up a couple of things. What I kind of liked, and it's probably because it was a nostalgia, part to it, was how they were able to connect a lot of the, kind of bring it back to Tony again. And that Beck was, behind the project, Project Barf, and everything, and Still love that name.
Barf.
Yeah. So I just liked how they were able to bring and then it got to me because they brought back that one scientist, the bald-headed guy from the first Iron Man movie, getting yelled at. I'm like, oh, hey, that's a nice little Easter egg right there. I remember this guy.
So you
and so I yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna ask. So you could tell that it was kind of like, like they were truly trying to wrap up the Iron Man saga and wrap up the MCU in general with this particular.
Well, this is supposed to be the end of Phase 3,
right?
So it was supposed to be the end of Phase 3, and they're moving on to Phase 4 now. And so I like that. Like I was saying earlier, for me, I kind of felt like the relationship between Peter and MJ was kind of sped up a little bit. I understand it was a stressful situation. There was a lot going on. But it was like I kind of felt like she said, "Oh, you're gonna tell me you're Spider-Man,"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, she figured it out." He's like, "No." He's like, "Okay, look, device fell. Yes, I am Spider-Man."
I like how I like to just drop that. He was like, "Yeah, I can't keep this from you anymore." But I do like the fact that MJ was deducing it for herself because even back in the Sam Raimi films, it was like it wasn't until Peter said something. Like
cool.
It wasn't until the whole detrimental incident with Doc that she discovered it.
Yeah, like for me, I kind of felt like that little area right there was just sped up a bit. Like I don't know, I feel like that could have been dragged a little bit more, but I feel like it was just that right there. For me, I love Jake Gyllenhaal. I think I always get his name wrong sometimes.
No, you got his name right. He's an amazing actor.
So. Yeah, so what I liked was what I liked was the whole point of hold on one second. I'm sorry. Go on to Ray real quick.
Ray, let's go ahead and skip over to you real quick.
Yeah, all right. I am also gonna go ahead and give this a solid 9.5 just for the fact that again despite the slight sidetracks of talking about not Shield but what's left of those people, Mysterio and the MJ Peter romance, all that stuff. It's Peter's.
Sorry about that.
It's a complete art. It's Peter starting here and ending here. This is Peter's like I was I'm still Spider-Man, but I need a break too. Heroes don't get breaks. So I absolutely love that. I love that his spider sense got mature because he needs that. I love that he learns not to trust everybody at face value because he needs that too. Responsibility with the tech that he has because he has Edith. And as we saw, that's a lot of power and a lot of tech. And like you said, I love how that they're kind of like wrapping up Iron Man's part in the MCU, including when he was working on the suits and he had the black shirt on and they turned on AC/DC and I was trying not to cry. And then finally, I love that they said, "Oh no, we're not done because Nick Fury's in space now." And for anyone who doesn't know, Shield is Earth threats, and there's an agency called SWORD that handles intergalactic threats. So that's what the after credits scene was about. Fury's in space trying to find he's either leading SWORD himself or trying to find someone to lead SWORD, because the Avengers are kind of scattered and resting right now. So solid 9.5, great movie, and it gave us something to look forward to.
All right, Tito, go back to your thought, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had children difficulties.
That's just part of life.
That's life. So yeah, no, just getting back to what I was saying earlier, what I just loved was the nostalgia and just going into like I said, the only one thing that bugged me was like the whole MJ Peter thing. But overall, like it was just that little tiny tidbit. Overall the movie was awesome. Like I said, for me it was just one of the best ones I've seen till this day. And that's including into the Spider-Verse and everything. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day.
Wow, actually, yeah, that's a real big topic that has to definitely be discussed eventually.
Oh, please. I saw
at some point. But I feel like they did so many things right in this movie, and it's if you find like a lot of things wrong with this movie, you're just nitpicking then. Like Like there's no way you can say like, oh, they messed up here, they messed up there, because you know a lot of critics, they like to throw out, these crazy reviews and everything. You're like, what are you talking about? Um, but overall, great movie, loved it.
All right, all right. I'm gonna go with the rich rating, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna give it a 9. The only reason why I'm giving it a 9 is just that I didn't like the pacing of some points in the movie. Again, the whole relationship between Peter and MJ. Wow, why are there cops driving by? I do like the fact that
It's just a podcast.
Illegal streaming.
I do like the fact. I do like the fact that MJ and Peter did have like a normal type of teenage relationship. Like they were trying to like be normal kids, and that's all they really wanted to do. And it was like, I think she knew like, oh, I have these feelings for Peter, but I have to like kind of get over them because like I know that he's Spider-Man. And he was like, I think she was just really waiting for him to reveal that. And I think like when it comes to that point, she was just like, oh, like remember the part when they're in the hotel room, and it was just like she was trying to get a sneak back at him because he was switching into his other suit, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, I mean, she didn't clarify that she felt this way about Peter. Are you just assuming that the audience has to assume these feelings? And that's what I just didn't like, is that you had to assume a lot of the relationship between characters.
That happened off
And
screen, yeah.
yeah, exactly, like where's all this off-screen stuff happening that like, and I get that the MCU is full of plot holes and they have consistent plot holes and retcons and all that kind of stuff that happens all the time in like the entire like universe, but I still don't feel like this movie had the proper pacing, in my opinion. Like it just felt like some things just got dropped out of nowhere. Like the only thing that was truly like paced correctly, I feel like, were scenes where Nick Fury was present, where you truly felt like Nick Fury was a part of those moments at the perfect time. Everyone else just kind of felt a little tiny bit displaced, and I was just like, that's something that I don't really like to have in my movies. And then of course, Jake Gyllenhaal, Mysterio was great, but I still do like his motivations, and I do understand like the reason why he did everything. And I think it's great because Thanos kind of like set us for that, where we start to understand the villain's point of view a lot better than we just want to be like, oh, the heroes have to win. No, we want to make sure that everyone hears and understands that it's like, oh, this is the MCU and this is our villains. We want you guys to understand our villains. And then Killmonger actually technically started that off for us, where we were or actually, would you say Killmonger started it? No.
Nah.
I would say, actually, I think Michael Keaton's character, the Vulture, might be a better place way to start that.
I'd say so.
Vulture was good.
Vulture was good. I think actually Zemo was kind of motivated too. Like he was a decently motivated villain in Civil War. Where like, and that's the thing, like a villain with good motivation is what makes things go great. But the pacing of which we started to discover all these different things about Mysterio and why he was doing his stuff, I was just like, it just kind of felt like tossed in here. Oh, well, here's the Easter eggs from the previous movies of Iron Man and why people would hate him. But it's like, we didn't even know like these characters would have these, like the one dude, like the scientist from the first movie. It's like, why would you have a grudge against Tony? That wasn't Tony who hurt you. It was more of Obadiah Stane like going at you because Tony was able to build an arc reactor from scraps in a cave. But then it's like there's no reason for that dude to really have any motivation against Tony. I think he was just kind of there along for the ride, and that's what it felt like. It's like some of the other villains, like those little background characters that were just dropped in, you were just like, I felt like you were just along for the ride. And then other characters, even Ned didn't feel right, exactly. And it's like even Ned, like even other characters that you think should be important didn't feel important. Like Ned didn't feel important. Ned, like during the time when he was on a Ferris wheel with his European girlfriend for the time being, like don't worry about that. For the time being,
Bachelors in Paris or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was his little like fling thing that he was doing out in Paris and stuff. And I'm just like,
Just kind
but
of felt like comic relief.
exactly, like it just
like
it didn't
3
really
days.
feel like you had to care about any other characters other than Spider-Man, MJ, and Mysterio. Like you didn't, and Nick Fury too. But even then, it still didn't feel. He was kind of shaky in like the whole movie. So like, why should I feel like I have to care about characters? if I felt like you gave me more reason to care about every character that you included, because of course you gave them screen time for a reason, then I feel like the movie would have been a definite 9.5 for me. I'm not saying that the movie's bad. I'm just saying that pacing and character development and character placement were just not all there. And that's the only thing I really have to say personally for the movie, and that's why I give it a solid 9.
Yeah, like pacing. I agree on the pacing, where it was a lot of things felt rushed. But they did add a lot of cool things, which I liked too, though. So I guess that counteracts that. Like I liked how they did the whole Spider-Man MJ web swing thing, and then they gave their own spin on it. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the end credit scene where he has now been revealed as Spider-Man to the world. Like,
man.
Oh my god!
Okay.
Yo, J. Jonah Jameson. I was so excited.
Dude, I was when I went to watch it the first time. There was a guy in the theater with us in the same screen as us. As me, it was me and my brother. And when that part came up, this guy let out the biggest yes. Yeah, like in the theater itself, and I'm like, I'm excited too, but jeez,
I'm just glad. Go ahead.
I jumped up for joy when I saw that, because that was something like, one, he's technically was contracted with DC, so I wasn't expecting him to be in another Marvel movie when you think about it, because he was I think he was Jim Gordon in the Batman. Yeah, he was Jim Gordon, and he was Jim Gordon in the most recent
Commissioner
DC
Gordon.
movies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So I was like, are we actually gonna we actually got him to reprise his role? So I'm hoping like in the next Spider-Man movie that does come out, like he is still J. Jonah Jameson, because that'll be absolutely amazing to have, because like that was like a villain in itself.
I was gonna say, did anyone find it funny that they put that little spin on like the Alex Jones-esque kind of part right there for him? Like, I was dying from that. Like, I was happy that he came out, but when that part came out where, like, you're like, this looks like InfoWars.
Yeah, that's what
exactly.
I was cracking up.
That's really cool. Like, first, I'm just glad that J. Jonah Jameson is in the movie. I'm glad it's the same guy, because I can't picture anybody else playing them.
Yeah.
He's just too perfect.
No.
And then I just like how they made a new age spin on the Daily News or Daily.
Yes.
Right, it's no longer like a newspaper type of thing. Like they're truly like they're advanced, and that's actually something I want to talk about in the next subject that we're actually going to get into, because you actually just perfectly segued into this. So now with Spider-Man Far From Home kind of just wrapped up, and we all kind of gave our tidbits and stuff, we want to also talk about the next aspect of live adaptations. Because, we have obviously like Lion King's coming out next week. Actually, this week this Friday is when Lion King comes out.
Friday.
Let's get ready. And then obviously we have like the Mulan movie coming out in 2020, and then of course we have a lot more MCU films coming out over the next like 5 years or so. So I think they have up until like 2024 is what the calendar is currently portraying. So
yeah, Black Widow, Black Panther 2, Doctor Strange 2, I think.
Yep, I think they're gonna try to get a Fantastic Four in there somewhere. They're trying to introduce the Illuminati, which is Doctor Strange's movie. So that's gonna be like the people who are on Earth, who are the guardians of the Infinity Stones. Like we have a lot that's coming up. But I kind of like how the MCU has truly opened us up to these comic books, these Disney telling stories, and all that kind of stuff to be able to be put into live adaptations. Because now we just basically expect it now. Like remakes, reboots, live adaptations, we just expect it to happen. So like I personally feel that like why can that now not happen for also anime? Like we had, the two really terrible anime movies that are like, we basically don't name them, but I'm sure we can all take a guess at which ones I'm talking about.
You mean like Scarlett Johansson?
Actually, that's not even the one I was talking about. But that
you were gonna say Dragon Ball Evolution, weren't you?
Oh, most definitely.
Oh yeah, no, that one was bad.
And then
don't remind me of that garbage, man.
Avatar was pretty terrible.
Avatar was absolute trash.
Oh my god.
Dragon Ball was pretty terrible.
No, we don't.
I'm about to have an aneurysm.
Last Airbender had me like, oh.
I actually went to the movie theaters for what?
You poor soul.
I hope you walked out asking for your money back, because that was just...
didn't. I went with a group of people and they wanted to see it, so I was like, all right, well, I guess we'll do this. And they all fell asleep. So I was just me watching this shitty. I don't know if I could swear on the stream, but it was a terrible movie.
Go ahead, because that's the only way to describe that movie. It was just like
that movie was shitty McShit shit.
Oh man, it was awful.
I honestly I would, and that's the thing. So like that's why some people are afraid of more live adaptations coming into play.
No, but then they have other ones, like, because I don't know if you guys saw it, but if you haven't, I strongly recommend it. But like Alita Battle Angel
That
was
one
really
actually,
good.
Yeah, that was actually
I
a
haven't
really
seen it
good
yet.
one.
That's on my list.
Yeah, no, you should
Haven't seen
definitely see it, especially if you like read the manga. Like, it's really, really good, and I would highly recommend it.
I hated the fact that critics didn't like it that much, but the audience in general were like, yeah, it was an enjoyable movie.
Yeah, it got really bad reviews. I think it got like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that.
But
But seeing it, I generally don't take reviews to heart. Like, I always go see, if I want to see something, I'm gonna go see it.
right.
And so I did, and I watched it, and I loved it. It was awesome. It was a great movie.
And
I'll
that's
take a
why,
look at it.
that's exactly why we don't listen to most movie reviews anymore until like after the fact we've seen it, because like it just makes no sense to sit there and like,
No, it's the garbage ones that get the good reviews and everything. Best movie in the world.
oh my god, like the overly dramatic. That's like the whole honest trailers thing, but like at least they're honest
Rotten
about
Tomato
it.
gives it this much.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
no, it's like that did not deserve it at all. And it's I just personally can't like, and that's the reason why I want to talk about this, but like movies that we feel deserve true live adaptations, or like any type, and it could be from any work of art, it could be a video game, it could be another comic book movie, because like I said, the segue, like modernizing J. Jonah Jameson, they did it perfectly. So why can't we like modernize the Daily Bugle and Superman and make him more modern? You know what I mean? So like I want to kind of talk about like, and I mean I already have my movie coming out this year of who I want to have like another live adaptation of, and like I will obviously speak about that when we get there. But
Yeah.
I want to obviously same order. So Lumineer to Tito to Ray, then to me. So Lumineer, like if you were to take any anime, video game, whatever that you could possibly make into a movie, what would you actually choose?
Cowboy Bebop.
You know what's funny?
Cowboy.
That there's actually one in development right now for that.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I heard it. Like, I think it was Keanu Reeves who got it started a long time ago, and then I didn't hear anything about it for a long time.
They're
Dude,
recasting
this
it
talks
now.
about
but,
it for
like,
years.
yeah, but like now, like Netflix has picked it up.
Oh, that's great, because
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
I feel
Netflix
like
picked it up.
that is the perfect storm of, what you need to make a good movie. Like, it was like, even if you haven't watched the anime in general, you should. It's amazing.
You were captivated the moment the theme song comes on. Like you cannot.
Tank is such a good opening. Oh, it's so good.
It is.
Actually, the whole OST is just a fantastic. Like, watch it. If whoever's watching this, if you haven't watched Cowboy Bebop, do yourself a favor.
You need
Go check
to.
it out.
I would be. It's blasphemy if you haven't. It's basic. Like if you call yourself an anime fan and you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop yet, but that's like saying like you're a comic book fan and you don't know who Batman or Iron Man is. You know, like you just can't. You can't go your life without knowing that type of information. It's just not possible.
That studio in general, just gem after gem. Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, even Wolf's Rain was really good.
Yes, it
was. Just check them out. But yeah, no, I would pick Cowboy Bebop because people like gunfire, people like the action. It's got a nice story to it. It's got the touchy-feely background with, I don't want to with why do I forget his name?
Spike.
The Spike, yeah, and the blonde-haired girl. So you can get that, and then like I just feel like popular actors and actresses now would fit perfectly in those roles too. So I just feel like it would be a really good adaptation. So I'm glad that it's a thing. So I'm happy to hear that.
That's great. I honestly I had to full-heartedly agree with you. I was very like I've seen some of the casting and I was kind of like meh, but then again I've seen now some of the actors that they casted can actually like what projects they've been a part and what they can actually do. And
but there's a list of the casting. Not to cut you off, I'm sorry. There's a list of the casting now.
Oh yeah, no, there's a full list of the casting actually. You can easily find it. Like it's so actually let's see.
I haven't seen this,
Luckily,
so
this is why you run dual monitors when you stream, guys. If you're ever thinking about streaming, always have dual monitors. It's so the Netflix Cowboy Bebop casting so far. Is,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. This is cool.
It's absolutely insane. So like the actors that you're gonna find, you're gonna be like, oh my god. Like John Cho is. I've seen.
Oh,
him.
he's such a good actor.
He's a
Oh
very
my
good
God.
actor, and he's our Spike Spiegel. Like he is our Spike
I,
Spiegel.
I'm a fan already. I like the actor for Jet as well.
Yep. You got Mustafa Shakir.
Yeah,
Daniela Pineda, and Alex Hassel.
I don't know Danella. I don't know where she's been in.
I'm trying to think. What has she actually been in? Because I know Mustafa Shakir, I know from multiple movies. Like I've seen him in a lot of different stuff. And then John Cho, I was watching not Blair Witch. He was in this
Wasn't Mustafa a Bushmaster?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Oh man, that was great.
So like, see, like it's like, and the cast itself is actually like really good actors. So like, as long as Netflix doesn't do anything to completely deviate from what Cowboy Bebop really is, because like I was watching this thing, King Vader's Cowboy Bebop or Hood Cowboy Bebop video, and it's like, somebody can just take a camera in their backyard and make like these overly dramatic like still shots of like a gun being fired and all, like capturing what Cowboy Bebop really was like admitted to be. And I feel like Netflix has obviously the resources, the money, and the effects to actually recreate that. We've seen so many good like live adaptations from Netflix. I think that this one's gonna be pretty successful.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you.
Yeah.
Dang, Rich, you just reminded me of other things to watch now.
It's actually it's on Hulu. It's on Hulu if you don't watch Cowboy Bebop.
I know, that's the thing. Like I have it added to my list. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
It's only 26 episodes.
26
it's a real
episodes
short watch.
pure
Take a day off from work.
bliss.
Listen.
Pure bliss. To sit through.
I'm binge watching other things right now.
He's right.
Right. Actually, now that you're actually on the like, if you're binge watching something, you gotta have an idea of what you want to have live adaptation of something. There's gotta be something.
You know what? I have to go the video game route, and I'm not sure. I was hearing rumors about this one, but I want an Uncharted movie.
I think that one's currently in development hell, is the problem.
Seriously?
Yeah, I believe right now the Uncharted movie is just in a weird limbo state. They just can't get the casting for it, I think is the main thing. Like, they can't get some people to just agree to be a part of this. I mean, I'd be perfectly fine with, like, just casting the original voice actor as Drake, Nolan North, because that man is absolutely amazing at whatever he does. And I believe that he could do I believe, like, if you are good at voice acting, I'm sure you could be decent at like actual acting. And I just think that people will be happy with the attached voice, just in general. If that makes sense.
You know, one of the rumors I was hearing regarding the Uncharted movie was casting Chris Pratt as Drake.
Yes, that is one I've heard. I've seen that like all over Facebook too, from like comicbook.org or something like that before.
Yeah, I was like, that was one of them. And when I heard him, I'm like, yo, I would be so down for this if they made an Uncharted movie. Like that right there is awesome in my book. To be, you know, and that's just going down that route. But I do gotta admit one thing. I think when it comes to live action adaptations, and this is just going in terms of, I think Disney is killing it right now.
Okay, so
like in terms of,
real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not to cut you off, but I just looked up the Uncharted movie, and it looks like they have Tom Holland as young Drake.
Really?
What?
Yeah, because it's these are prequels to the movie, so when he was a younger kid, so they have it as Tom Holland, and then they have Sully as Bryan Cranston.
No way.
why does that sound familiar?
Right, that's
Yeah, the
that's
guy-
Heisenberg, right?
Yeah, the guy
Yeah.
From
from
Breaking
Bad.
Bad. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Oh my
so-
god, that would actually be. I would love him as Sully. That would be great.
Yeah,
That's like-
give me a second. I'll put the link in the group chat once for you guys, so you can just check it out. But yeah,
I'll check it out later if
Yeah,
anything.
because that's
Yeah.
absolute. That's actually not bad already. That's some good casting.
The great thing about that is Holland has all of that acrobatic and physical training, and he is in shape, my guy. So
Yeah.
then play a young Nathan Drake is probably perfect.
No, I like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
it
is
just-
updated as of June 7th of this year. So it's,
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
That's right. I gotta look more into that.
Yeah.
No, like I was saying earlier, like for me, like I feel like Disney's just been killing it with live action adaptations. You know, and I'm not just trying to bring up just like recent ones because they I look at my DVD collection. I got just Maleficent and a bunch of others like live action adaptations. I was very skeptical at first.
Right, like I have a guilty pleasure for Alice in Wonderland. Like I won't even lie, I love the live adaptation of Alice in Wonderland. Like Johnny Depp was amazing as Mad Hatter.
Yep.
Yes. Oh my God. Like there were some scenes I'm like, okay, that's not very kid friendly, but okay. Yeah. So yeah. Just looking at that, I'm looking actually at the movies right now that I have. It's like just the way Disney's been killing. Like I'm interested to see The Lion King. When it comes out, I think so this Friday.
Yep.
So, and the way that they're portraying it, I'm like, it looks like a good movie. Then they got The Little Mermaid coming out. They have another Maleficent movie coming out as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Disney's just on top of things right now in terms of these live action movies.
Well,
like you said earlier, Mulan.
Oh yeah, we got Mulan coming up real soon, 2020.
Yeah, so it's like, whoa, like Disney, like you keep on giving us all this good stuff, like, hey, give us a break. Not really, but still keep it up.
Right. Like,
but it's like the way that some movies that you never thought would get a live action adaptation years ago, like even just looking back at like let's just say Beauty and the Beast, it's like just something like the way that they came out with Emma Watson, I think her name was. I'm trying to remember, and like that movie was awesome. I love the way they portrayed that movie and just the way they did the take on the story. It for me, the last like 4 or 5 years, Disney has not let people down in terms of like the movies they've come out with for live action. And in terms of like animes, I have to really think about that because there's a bunch of movies that I would like to see a bunch of animes I would like to see live action, but knowing myself, I haven't kept up with a lot of stuff like that, so they might have done something already, and I don't even know it. So I'll pass it on to Ray and see.
See if you could name something here for us, Ray. Like, honestly, like again, it could be anything like that you've obviously seen. Like I said, mine is coming up later this year, and I'll obviously reveal which one I'm excited for later this year. Mm-hmm. But Ray, I really want to know, like, what exactly are you looking forward to, or like what are you maybe hoping that you may see in like the next maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe even get announced as a live adaptation?
Honestly, I was thinking about it, and at first I was just like, I'm not sure. There's so many things I have, and I was going to say that now that we're done with Endgame, that maybe we could get something with Hawkeye in between, right after the snap, and when the 5-year skip in that time, because I feel like
like when he was Ronin.
Yeah, what made him become Ronin?
Because I'm tired of that nonsense.
Right.
In the transition from Hawkeye to Ronin. But then I'm just like, you know what? I want Samurai Jack. I really want Samurai Jack in its entirety, 1 to 5, season 1 to 5. Probably as like a mini series.
Okay.
There's a lot of important stuff that happens. But I feel like in terms of all that emotion, all of what he goes through, and I feel like we could just have some really good recreations of cinematography from the original show in live action form. Like I feel like they can make Aku look even like more intimidating, with the shape shifting and all that. Because as a child, like Aku was scary. Scary as a child.
Actually, could you imagine just seeing some giant black figure that could just transform into almost anything and everything just out of nowhere? Yeah. Like that's actually quite scary to think about. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Like we have the technology and things to be able to do it. I full-heartedly agree. I think Samurai Jack is long overdue. And especially with like we are doing a lot of like I think for some reason samurais are becoming a trend because like we just had Sekiro's Shadows Never Die Twice just came out earlier this year, and I think like samurais right now are like in a Samurai Showdown is a fighting game that just came out and people are really big into that.
That's a classic.
Exactly.
That's
so
a
it's
classic.
like we're people are like big into samurais right now, and I think if they were to like announce a live action Samurai Jack, I think people would be down for it. Like if you did it like an episodic type of thing where it's like, do like all 5 seasons as a mini-series kind of type of deal, and then you just like maybe space it out. So like you have 5 episodes of each mini-series. Obviously you have to go through like some of the big battles, like the battles of the 1,000 Beetles or something like that, like during that time. You can't skip over those important battles and things like that. But it's just like we're in a perfect time where I feel like this is actually possible for Samurai Jack to come out the woodwork and to truly be given a new reliving adaptation. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Phil Lamar. Like, he is one of the best voice actors ever known,
Yeah.
and that man has done so much. But I do believe, like, it's like the same aspect of, like, we're replacing who did we replace? I mean, like, I guess obviously they kept James Earl Jones as Mufasa and stuff in Lion King, but like we're not bringing Eddie Murphy back as Mushu, and Mushu was like this happy-go-lucky funny character, and that's why Eddie Murphy fits so well. But we're not bringing him back for that exact same thing. Just like how
isn't Mushu not in the movie?
I think he's not in the movie at all.
He's not. The songs and
songs in Mushu are completely gone.
It's going by the.
See, that's one thing I'm not. That's one thing I was gonna mention when we got to the Mulan movie was I'm not a fan of that because Disney has always been, good music and to help drive storytelling, and then it's just not there. I don't know how I feel about that.
They're doing it just like it's like the same thing with Black Panther. They're doing it from a cultural standpoint. They're trying not to. Like, they know what aspects exist in the universe for that particular movie, but they don't want to dive too deep. Like, you have a talking dragon. Talking dragon doesn't sound, too. I think they're just really trying to get behind the whole women's aspect of it. Like, she's a very Mulan is a very empowering character for women. And I feel like that's what they really want to focus on. They don't want to focus on some of those little fantasy aspects. They really want to focus on her time as a soldier in the Chinese Imperial Army, technically. And they really want to just make sure that everybody sees that. I think that's what really they're going for there.
All I really want is the Be a Man song to be in there, okay? Yeah. Classic song, okay?
That's all we could ever want. Like, I used to drive with my friends, like, when we used to go out to eat, that's what we used to always play going to and back. Like, that was
I'm just saying, like, that's, they have other songs there, but that right there is, like, one of the most classic songs from that movie in particular. And if they cut it out, come on. That would highly upset me.
I mean, I can understand to a point too. Like, I have to be upset at the fact that that's not going to be there. But I'm sure the movie itself, like, I'm surprised actually the Lion King is still keeping some of its musical numbers. But then again, you kind of need something to make things very, very interesting when you're having a movie about all talking animals.
And it's a remake.
Exactly, like, it's a remake at that point. Like, and don't get me wrong, like, I've heard the little snippet of "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" with Childish Gambino and Beyonce singing it together, and it sounds like it's gonna be a beautiful rendition. Like, it's about to hit hard. Like, I'm about to be in the theater sitting there singing with everybody in the theater. I'm trying to really be up there like, can you feel the love tonight? I really want to be all up in there, like, singing.
Eardrums, jeez.
Oh my God, I'm gonna make your ears bleed. I'm gonna make your ears bleed right now. But, like,
how about you don't?
But you see what I mean?
It's raining outside right now.
But, like,
yeah, no, for me, I feel like, there are certain things, like, they should not cut out of movies, and I would, like I said, I would be really upset if they cut out, that, I know the name of the song's not Be a Man or whatever, but, it was just one of those, like, it was just one of those, like, deciding songs, because if you really, I joked about it with people about, like, they'll take that song, and in today's day and age, it's like, somebody's going to become upset and say, it's like, oh, it's so, detrimental to women and how they're treating her and this, that, and it's like, come on, it's a Disney movie. I feel like some people would just take things too far and say something is offensive.
Yeah.
When it comes to certain songs and movies and everything, that's why they get cut out. And it's like, no, just like don't mess with a classic like that.
Exactly.
It's funny that you mentioned that though, because I feel like, personally speaking, I feel like that is a major reason why that specific song is not in there, is because it's a story about a woman and it's telling her to be a man. So it's like, that in itself is like contradictory to story. Yeah, I know.
But if you really think about it, I don't want to cut you off like that or anything, but if you really think about it, the song kind of ties into how the culture was in that time period where women weren't supposed to be in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they're assuming that, she's a he. And so it's like, they're saying like, toughen up and everything. It's like, I wouldn't say it's an empowering song. I know it's silly and everything, but at the same time, it's like, some people take the messages of particular songs and even in some Disney movies, and it's like they'll twisted up, and it's like, no, it's about this. It's like, no, it's really about this. If you really think about it, you're kind of digging way too deep into a child's song.
No, you're right, and that's something like I understand. Like we have to take that into consideration because like for us growing up with those movies, like that was a part of the experience. Like getting to sing along as like anywhere between the ages of like 5 to 10, you got to sit there and really sing along with the songs, and you enjoyed the movie more because of the fact that you had those musical numbers. But I feel now they understand. I think like now we do have to take into consideration the audience that we are tapping into.
Yeah.
Where people are, unfortunately, people are very easily offended, and you have to take into consideration other people's feelings. As much as we wish that wasn't the case right now, we do have to realize that is the reality we live in. And because of the fact that that's the reality we live in, we unfortunately have to deal with the fact that we're gonna get a Mulan movie without Be a Man being actually in the movie. But if we really do care, we will continue to live on we will continue to remember the legacy of that song and of the original Mulan as we have seen it, because this is not going to change what the actual movie was about. It's just going to bring about, expanding the legacy of all these movies. Because I think that's really it. And Ray, if you'd like to finish up your thoughts on like your live, I know we veered off a little bit, but just a little bit. But if you'd like to finish up your thoughts upon
just a tiny bit.
I definitely am. I don't want to say sick and tired, but I am sick and tired of people saying that something that isn't changing a remake a remake of something is ruining the original thing, because the only way it ruins the original thing is if it trashes that original thing. I'm gonna briefly speak on the whole Ariel thing. It's what they're doing right now doesn't ruin anything because they're not changing the story. It's a remake. It's a different adaptation. And even that, they're not changing anything in the story, so it doesn't ruin anything. So it's just a matter of, if you do love Disney as much as you say you do, you don't have to necessarily agree with everything. You don't have to follow blindly, but don't judge something before it's even made available in its entirety.
Hear that, people? Don't judge.
I'm just saying. But yeah.
Don't judge a movie by its poster.
Exactly. But thank you, Ray. I'm glad that we had that discussion, because somebody actually asked me to discuss about that on tonight's podcast. Like they wanted me to like just real quick touch upon like how I felt and how everyone else felt about like certain songs being cut out of like Disney movies and the live adaptations and things like that. So I'm glad that we actually touched upon that, because I think that's a very serious subject that people do want to hear. So I'm actually really happy that we touched about that. Thank you guys for bringing that up, because that was actually a very important part of the conversation too. But now, just to keep us going, because we're almost at our hour and a half mark, which we have like a little plus or minus 10 minutes because of the fact that we had the little audio issue at the very beginning. So the podcast really didn't start for like a good 5 minutes, even though I am so sorry about that.
Hey, you get 10 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah, you guys get a little extra time today.
Woo!
So for me personally, I'm gonna say that my dream's already coming true, and we're getting the live adaptation of Joker this around Halloween time this year. And that's something I've actually been wishing for years, is a more of an origin story for the Joker. And the fact that when that was announced, I want to say this, that trailer is still one of my favorite movie trailers of all time. And there's certain movie trailers, like I've rewatched the Civil War trailer, the Infinity War trailers, and all those kinds of different things. I've rewatched those like on repeat before. And it's like, because I try to really look for these little tidbits and everything. And it was like, what makes me really, really excited for the Joker movie is the fact that you're going to get little aspects of, like, the Killing Joke. You're going to get little aspects of, like, maybe, not Mask of the Phantasm, but, like, I'm trying to think. There's these other ones. Not Death of the Family, but you kind of get, like, you also get a callback to, like, the original Batman with, like, Jack Nicholson and all that kind of stuff. Like, the 1989 movie where, like, we're talking about, like, remember when the Joker says that quote, I think have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight, I believe the quote was. And it's like, oh, well, the Joker is who killed Bruce Wayne's parents. And they're calling back to that because we know it's a young Bruce Wayne in the trailer. So I'm saying, like, for me personally, I'm like, oh, this is who we basically get an origin of Batman. At the same time, we get an origin of the Joker in the same movie. So I kind of like where that aspect is going of it. And that's why I'm really excited, because, like, my dream's coming true. I'm getting an origin film. And if Joaquin Phoenix does that performance well, I'm going to be Joker laughing out of the theater immediately. You guys will be.
Remind me to stay away from that theater.
Oh, I'm not gonna go crazy. I'm not gonna go crazy. I promise you.
He says
I'm not
that
gonna.
now.
Yeah, say that now. But I promise you, I will not dye my hair green. I will not, wear makeup. I will not go around saying why so serious or let's put a smile on that face. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going completely psychotic yet until I start school up again. But good God, the stresses that I'm about to feel this fall. But if I'm
in the same boat.
Yep. See, so but if I had to pick like something that I wanted to actually be brought into a live adaptation, there's an anime that I hold near and dear to my heart, and it is it's actually Hellsing Ultimate.
Hellsing is really good.
I love that anime. It's an absolute death. I love the aspect behind it. It's just like it's if you haven't seen Hellsing Ultimate yet, it is a 10-episode series. Each episode's like an hour long, but you feel like even though it's like an hour long each episode, you really feel like you just sat through like a whole like 2 seasons of anime. Like it's that good. It really it's really good. The voice acting is amazing. The characters are amazing. You actually feel for characters. In 10 episodes, you actually get yourself to feel for these characters. And I'm just like, well, I personally resonate with one of the characters in this in this anime, and Looney, if you're in the chat still, you probably know exactly which. Not Luminaire, but like one of my friends, Looney. He's actually in the chat right now.
Oh, he said Looney, not Loomy.
Looney, Looney. I gotta be more enunciating with it, but he knows exactly which character I'm talking about because this is literally like that was like my character because I've always been known as like the crazy friend in the group, and so like this character is like he's like this outlandish, like this completely outlandish character, and I'm just like, I love this guy. Like this is who I resonate with, and I would love to see like a live adaptation of that person. Like just and I'm like all these characters, I want to see like who they would cast and why they would cast this person and exactly like how they would go about doing these different scenes. Because like there's an episode of Hellsing Ultimate where Alucard releases what's called his level 0, and this dude just releases all the souls that because he's originally Dracula, because that's literally what Alucard is backwards. He is Count Dracula himself. He is Vlad the Impaler. All the souls that the souls of the people whose blood he's drank, he releases all those souls to be as his personal army of the undead. Literally all at once. So that's millions of people just literally being used from the Crusades, from different other vampires and such that he's fought. Like, I really want to see that live because I feel like
badass.
Like
yeah,
exactly,
that would be ridiculous.
It'd be absolutely. If you haven't seen it yet,
I'm picturing it right now.
If you haven't seen it yet, dude, I'm telling you, like, what can you do? It's like, what can you do against a vampire who has 2 dual wield pistols that he literally goes around with holy bullets, and he can just release this army at command. And he's
his familiar, Ceres.
Oh my god!
That's my favorite character in the whole show. Ceres Victoria. It's my girl.
Like I can't wait. And it's like if you really want like a dumbed down version of Hellsing Ultimate, go watch the Team 4-Star version of it because it sums up everything just in a more comedic light. If you want the more serious version, go actually watch actual Hellsing Ultimate. And that's my reasoning for why I want to see that like live adapted. Like it has to be lively adapted. It has to be brought into. Like yeah, exactly. Alucard pulls up on you and you just know you're screwed. Yep. Like you can't kill you know how difficult it was to kill this guy? Technically he died, but he never really died. He was literally the Cheshire Cat. He was Schrodinger's cat. He existed. He also didn't exist. Like, how do you have that great of power? It's so OP, and I just need to see this like just brought into it. Like, I would rather fight Thanos. I would rather fight Thanos before I'd rather fight full Infinity Gauntlet Thanos. I'd rather fight him with all 6 Infinity Stones before I fight Alucard in any way, shape, or form.
That's a fact.
Yeah, Alucard was ridiculous.
But with that much said, guys, we're actually at the hour-and-a-half cap, and I do want to kind of like I want to thank you guys all for being here. When the VOD is actually uploaded, if you guys have Twitch or Twitter or any type of social media, just obviously send in our little group chat that we have together so then I can make sure that's put into the description of the video for the VOD. Any last tidbits? You guys have any social medias you want to plug real quick before we end here? Obviously starting in the same order that we've been going in. Go ahead, Luminaire, you can start.
Okay, sure. I have obviously we mentioned the Twitch I have for phrase at slash Luminaire, LUM1NAIRE. Same thing. Same as my Twitter handle is Luminaire as well. So give me a follow if I would greatly appreciate it. And it was great being on the show. Thank you.
Of course, I'm glad that we got to have you on the show. Tito, you're next. If you have anything that we should be following other than just Facebook and seeing all your funny PS4 clips.
Nothing at the moment, but I'm pretty sure Rich, you, and Ray have definitely seen my videos. Hey, if I can get this, if I can get the whole Twitch thing going and getting all that, I'll do it. And I'll promote it on the. If you allow me, I'll put it on the. Give you the links and everything
Oh yeah.
for it. Because me and my crew, the people I play with and everything online, we're a bunch of idiots, and that's what makes everything all the more fun.
And see, that's why I want to and actually what you should do is, I'm not sure if you thought about this, but taking some of those highlights, start putting them up on YouTube, dude. And just start gaining your following from there. And then when you really start the Twitch streaming stuff, that's when you could be like, all right, bet, now I already have my following. Let's transition from YouTube over to Twitch and then get your gang of dudes who can just be idiots online together. And that's what I do with my friends too. My last recent stream, we were just kind of all screwing around. We were just doing some really stupid stuff, and it's I was terrible. I played League of Legends, and I was terrible. I had a game where I think I was 2-13 or something. I'm I will never let this happen again.
Dude, I'm not the best player in Call of Duty or Dead by Daylight, but the stuff that we pull off is just hilarious. So.
It's a lot. It's all the fun, and that's all that really matters, is that we want to make sure that we all are just having fun, right? So that's the reason why I do this. I want to have fun while doing something I love. So, and I mean, actually, now that we got that going, get that YouTube channel up, and once you get that link up, I'll put it in the description for the VOD. Get that started ASAP, because I really want to see this, because I sit there and I laugh, especially when you guys play Gang Beast. I love that game. I love watching you guys play that game. That is hilarious.
Yep. Gang Beast.
That game is I love it because it's just a hilarious game. Everybody go play.
I will say this. I will say this real quick, that I think one of my favorite clips from Gang Beast. I think my brother and I were playing as chickens. And my brother was the pink one from America. We sent him flying, so we called him the flying chicken in that clip.
I got thrown into a train once.
That was me.
People don't understand how funny that game is to watch. It is all just ragdoll physics too. So you just literally see people's bodies flop over like it's nothing. Everyone just is wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube bend during the whole entire round that you're fighting.
Oh man,
that's funny.
Oh, man. But thank you, Tito. And for the last but not least, Ray, what would you like to go ahead? I know you got a little. Actually, I want to congratulate Ray personally. So while we're on stream, a couple months ago, this man on TikTok with his amazing little compilations that he does, he managed to hit 10,000 followers. And I could not be any happier for this man to hit 10. That's a big jump. That's a big feat for a lot of social media. Any social networking and social media that you do, 10,000 is one of the biggest milestones that you could possibly ever make. And so, Ray, I want to personally, on Get Blerded, as a fellow Blerd from one to another, I would love to congratulate you upon 10,000 and growing followers on TikTok. Would you like to plug that for us real quick, please?
Actually, yeah, let me know. I'm about to follow you right now.
I will first credit this man, in part for getting me back into it, because he sent me this video of this guy doing a bunch of crazy transitions, and he was just like, yo man, I can't wait for you to do this. And I was at a point where I'm like, TikTok, whatever. And then he sent me that, and I'm just like, I can do that. So, like he said, I just hit 10K a few months ago. I'm currently sitting at 15.8. And I don't have 50.8 thousand of anything in actual real life money, none of that. So I want to thank you very much for that motivation, because I really appreciate it. Ricky, if you're watching this and you catch this later, I also want to thank you, because you're also part of that. So thank you. But yeah, xraymegaman at TikTok. If you want to support, I would greatly appreciate it. I got stuff coming. I just put out a bunch of stuff. I mean, right now my wheels are turning. So if you want to be a part of that, I appreciate it.
See, and that's another thing why we do this, because I love to have, like, you know, smaller streamers, and I like to have, you know, smaller social networking people on my show and on this podcast here, because once you're on this podcast, you're a part of the Blerd crew. You are officially a part of the Blerd crew, and you now have I want to make sure that we have another outlet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I want to make sure that if we rise, that everyone rises together, and that's something that we will continue to work on. So, again, Tito, get that YouTube channel going. Lumineer, whenever you're streaming, of course, we could always do a dual stream together, because, like, there's the squad streaming thing now on Twitch, which is absolutely amazing. And
yeah, we'd both play League of Legends. That's a thing that we can do. I'm down for that.
I mean, I already have my schedule set for streaming this week, so we're gonna be doing some duo queue. I'm trying to get the hell out of silver.
Bro, I know it's not what we're talking about today, but my game today, I'm so angry.
Yep, so that's exactly the tip. Like, I swear to God, every time I stream solo queue, it's literally, I'm so angry.
I'm so angry.
Just know, like, every stream you're gonna hear it. I'm so angry.
just hashtag I'm so angry. That's what.
That's about to be the. Yo, guys, let's get it started. And literally, hashtag I'm so angry. I really can't wait for this to get started. Like, this is gonna be great. Like, the more we really get into it, like, we're about to have a segment like called hashtag I'm so angry, and we're about to just like have that going on Twitter from now on. And then obviously
it's the blurted version of what grinds my gears.
Perfect. We got it. It's done. It's coined right now. But and don't forget, guys, TikTok. Download the TikTok app. Get xraymegaman at TikTok. I need you guys to follow him. Again, this man is making some really, really big moves. Just like how Lumineer and I, we're trying to make these big moves on Twitch. And we got Tito again trying to make these moves with his going on. And I'm sure, obviously, you know what you should do, Tito? One stream, just have your kids on with you. And just absolutely kick their ass at Gang Beast. Just teach them a lesson like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Like, if I had a kid.
I'll be honest. You're asking me to beat my kids who are ages 8 and 1 at video games.
I mean, if I had an 8-year-old, I would put him up against me and Smash, and we'll see what really happens.
You crazy, man? Shoot.
Listen, life is tough. Let him learn now.
He's almost as competitive as I am.
You gotta learn how to, listen, he's gotta learn how to lose then, too.
I do this because I care.
You want me to get in trouble with my wife?
I mean, you're gonna have to eventually. That's how every marriage goes, right?
The rite of passage.
You gotta get in trouble at least once, right, guys? At least once. And remember, if you don't get into trouble, stay safe. And if you can't get yourself out of trouble, just don't get caught. And with that much said, guys, this has been hashtag GetBlerded. I love the fact that I got these guests on tonight, and I can't wait to start. I hope you guys like the new studio setup, because I did a little bit of soundproofing in the room and stuff like that to kind of like make it a little bit better. I really hope you guys actually like this new setup. I think this is what we're going to be doing from now on for the whole video setup and stuff. And if I have more people in studio, then we'll probably do it in another area where it can accommodate more space. Mm-hmm. But with that much said, once again, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. I cannot begin to tell you guys how much I appreciate it. And with that much said, this has been hashtag GetBlerded. Guys, I can't wait to see you guys here next week, because we will be doing our Lion King review, which is going to be absolutely amazing, because I feel like that's literally going to be like this whole thing. Because then we're going to...
Count me in.
Exactly. Because like that's the thing. We're going to see Lion King. We're going to talk about it. And then we're going to then talk more upon the whole Mulan situation and the Ariel situation. And it's going to be a little bit more controversial, this next one. So I really don't think people want to miss this one coming up. So with that much said, guys, don't miss it. Get your notifications on. If you're not following, follow already. And with that much said, Malco The Blerd, Tito, Lumineer, Ray, we'll all see you guys next week.
Next week.
Peace, guys.
Later.
Peace.